Hello everyone and happy Halloween. Today I'm going to show you how to make my gluten-free sourdough soft pretzels. These are so freaking good, you guys. They're probably the best pretzels I've ever had, and I'm not exaggerating. They're deeply dark and crusty with the familiar chew, and they're soft and fluffy on the inside, just like a German pretzel. So let's get into it and I'll show you how to make them 2 ways. Okay, so first we have to feed our sourdough starter. So if you don't have a sourdough starter, you want to go back and get that going. Go back to my sourdough starter post and recipe. And this method is so easy for the sourdough starter because you just keep it in the fridge and you feed it when you want to feed it. Basically when you want to use it. It's so much simpler than having to feed a sourdough, remembering to feed a sourdough starter every day or twice a day or whatever. That's why sourdough was always just too much for me. And this method is so perfect. So once you have your sourdough starter going, get it out of the fridge and feed it with at least 100 grams of a whole grain flour. This happens to be brown rice flour, but you can use buckwheat, you can use sorghum. I have all these different things listed within the sourdough starter post. And then you want to add 100 to 120 or 110 grams of water. This is just tap water right out of my sink. If yours has like extra chlorine in it, you may want to either use bottled water or you can pour the tap water into a container and then let it sit overnight, and all of that chlorine will dissipate. And it's okay if you have a thick starter like this. That's actually what I prefer. It actually, to me, makes a better dough. So we're going to put the lid back on this and let it sit at room temperature until it has basically reached the top of the lid. And this could take anywhere from 5 hours all the way up to 9, maybe even 10 hours, depending on the temperature of the room where you have it in. And the colder months, it's always going to take longer. Okay, now that we've got the sourdough going, we need to get our Tong Jang or udene made. Both the same thing. One is Chinese, one is Japanese. This is what makes any kind of breads super soft, fluffy, moist, and last for longer than normal. So to do this, in a bowl, I'm going to add 60 grams of boiling hot water. And to that, I'm adding 40 grams of my gluten-free flour blend, the bread flour blend, same thing that I'm using in the whole recipe. And I'm going to do this quickly so that all of that flour is well hydrated by the boiling hot water. So work quickly, get it done. It's going to be thick and a very paste-like, and that is exactly what you want. So now we can cover this, let it cool, and you can actually leave this in your fridge overnight if you want to make this a day ahead. So now that we have those two things ready to go, we can mix together the rest of our dough and get this going. And that starts with 30 grams of water, just room temperature water is fine. And I'm adding to that the sourdough starter, and this is 200 grams of the sourdough starter. So make sure you have that much of your sourdough starter. That's why I said at least 100 grams each of flour and water is what you need to feed it with. And then we're adding the cooled down Tong Jang or udene, followed by 28 grams of soft butter, 12 grams of light brown sugar, 120 grams of my gluten-free bread flour blend, and 6 grams of salt. And we're just going to put this on the mixer, just like we do for all my other bread recipes. Mix it on medium to medium high for 5 minutes. Now we'll just scrape it all into the center. Okay, now we want to cover it and let it rise. And this could take several hours. Actually like 6 to 8 hours or even overnight. Because for one thing, we're working with gluten-free dough, and that will always take longer to proof than regular dough. And also this is sourdough. So sourdough is always going to take longer, whether it's gluten-free or not. So here it is out of the fridge now. And we're going to go ahead and knead the dough briefly. just to get it nice and smooth, like I do for all of my doughs. It's a really wonderful dough to work with too. It's so soft. That's what I love about the sourdough, is that sourdough really makes a nice soft dough. You would think maybe otherwise, but I've just fell in love with all things sourdough related. And now that I know that I don't have to feed my sourdough starter every day, I have been making so many things with it, and I'm going to share them with you as time goes by. So don't worry. Okay, so now I'm going to divide this dough, and you can shoot for anywhere from like 90 to 100 grams per pretzel, more or less, depending on how big or small you want your pretzels. So now to shape these, we're going to roll them into ropes. The ropes are about, I'd say about like 20 inches long or so. This is, again, for the 90 to 100 gram per pretzel. It might be different if you're going bigger or smaller. And then you want to first shape it into like a large U. And then I'm going to twist the ends twice because I really like that double twist. And then I'm going to fold it down and press the ends to like the belly of the pretzel. And just, you don't have to press them really hard, but they will stick as long as you don't use a whole lot of extra flour. You kind of need friction on your countertop to roll these out. And now, I told you at the beginning that I'm showing you 2 ways to do these pretzels. This way is actually my family's favorite way, and we have just fell in love with these kind of pretzels. And I'm making just pretzel sticks, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with these towards the end of this video, so hang tight. Just going to make a few. These are about 6 inches long, so just roll them into little ropes. Put them on your baking sheet on like a parchment square, because this will make it easier. The parchment squares will make it much, much easier to transfer these into the boiling water. So now I'm going to cover this entire thing, and I'm going to put it in the freezer while I preheat my oven to 425 Fahrenheit. And I'm going to also get a pan of water boiling. Alrighty, my water is just about boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and add in about a tablespoon, give or take, of molasses. You don't have to use it. It does provide a little more darker color to the pretzels, but you can do it without. And to that, I'm also adding about 60 grams or a quarter cup of baked baking soda. You can use just baking soda right out of the box, but if you bake it ahead of time, it actually becomes more alkaline, and that creates a deeper, darker, chewier crust. So to bake it, I thought I had the video. I don't. Somewhere it ended up like maybe in my recycle bin. I don't know, but it's really simple to do. You just spread it out on a foil lined baking sheet and bake it at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 1 hour. Let it cool and then store it in an airtight container. Okay, carefully add your pretzels into the water, still on the parchment squares. Now, I like to do this one at a time, but you can do it like 2 or 3 at a time. But what I'm doing is, as soon as I put the pretzels in the water, I set a timer for 2 minutes. I have found that 2 minutes is that perfect time to get the perfect chew. Any less, and it kind of isn't quite as chewy and dark anymore, and it tends to want to fall apart. And no need to flip this over, because I'm actually using my spatula to kind of bathe the top in the solution, so we don't have to worry about flipping it over and it falling apart or, getting screwed up or anything. Stick with this. So once the 2 minutes are up, use a slotted spatula, spoon, whatever you have, to gently lift them out of the water and place them on a greased parchment lined baking sheet. You want to make sure the parchment is also greased or they will stick. And now we can brush them with the egg wash, which is just 1 large egg mixed with 1 tablespoon of water and a pinch of salt. And I'm sprinkling mine with flake salt that I have. It's Maldon sea salt. You can also buy special pretzel salt. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon, or you can use kosher salt. And we're going to bake these for 20 minutes or until they're deep, dark, and delicious. You guys, that is all there is to the best gluten-free or not soft pretzels you'll ever have. I always tell you how much my husband and son help me because they can eat gluten and they are extremely honest with me. So I know I've done it when they say it's the best pretzel they've ever had. And while these are the best traditional pretzels we've ever had, this next step for a different twist on how to do these pretzels is something that we absolutely go crazy over. That's me, my husband, and my son. So remember those sticks, pretzel sticks I made. I'm going to go ahead and boil those. Just like I did the other ones. I'm going to slide them right in, boil them for the 2 minutes, and then I'm going to remove them and let them dry momentarily while I heat up a deep fryer. I'm using my cast iron skillet, and I'm heating this up to about 330 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to deep fry these. And I'm telling you, you will never want a pretzel another way again. But the baked ones are fabulous as well. But I'm just telling you that this method just blows us away. So carefully lower them into the deep fryer or the cast iron skillet or whatever you have to deep fry. And we're going to fry these for like 2 to 3 minutes, flipping like constantly to get around on all sides. And then drain them on paper towels, and you can add the salt immediately so that that salt will stick. Unfortunately, I don't have a bite shot of these because I thought I already had one, and they were devoured before I realized I didn't. Either way you make them, they are sure to become your newfound best ever pretzels. Enjoy!